Our video today was made possible by arcade game developer Wallop Technologies, as well as viewers like you and Arcade Heroes members. Thank you.
Arcade Heroes.
Greetings, Arcade Heroes. This is Adam with Arcade Heroes, or greetings, viewers, whatever. Yeah, we've got a little bit of news to talk about today from the wonderful world of arcades. And as you can see from this headline, which comes from this article on arcadeheroes.com, Bandai Namco Amusements begins testing bike dash delivery in Japan. Now, as I always have to be sure to note when I talk about something like this game that we're going to discuss today, it's on beta test. In the arcade industry, we generally call it location testing because a game goes out to a location, an arcade location somewhere, and it gets tested. Now, sometimes a manufacturer will make a big deal out of it and promote it, but that's generally only something that only happens in Japan. Very, very rarely is a location test promoted in the United States when they happen here, and they do happen here all the time. It's just 99% of them are done in secret, and just generally learn about it from somebody out there at like a Dave & Buster's or something who just happens to snap a video or a photo or something, and then it gets out there. But I point that out because what you might see here may not be released at all, or it may change significantly from what is shown on location test and what's going to be mass produced, but we'll get into that. Just got to get the disclaimer out of the way, as manufacturers have I've gotten in trouble with manufacturers before for not making that clear. But anyways, back in June, Bandai Namco Amusements Japan happened to register a trademark which showed that they were working on a game called Bike Dash Delivery. And being June, it seems like an eternity away now. That's just kind of forgot it, out of sight, out of mind. But suddenly on Twitter or X, whatever you want to call it, it showed up on location test. And so there are these tweets that I linked to in the article, so you can check them out there. But over in Japan, the game has been on test, and this is one of those tests that was not announced, which again is slightly unusual for Japan. And let me zoom out just a little bit there so that you can see that better. So here's the banner that accompanies the game there, and it explains a little bit of the gameplay, which from the description of those Japanese players who gave it a shot, as well as this, it is kind of like Crazy Taxi meets Uber Eats. But in that regard, that's where, as I mentioned in the article, it reminds me of Radical Bikers by Galco. And Atari Games. Again, I don't know if that game had any wide release in Japan at all, but in Japan, it was a similar concept to Crazy Taxi, but you were a pizza delivery guy or girl on a motorbike, and you had to get the pizza delivered to the location on time in Radical Bikers. And so it seems like this might be kind of along the same lines, but this shows that there are these these jumps, these lifts that can allow you to even get on top of a building, perhaps as a shortcut to get to your location faster. I'd assume it would be timed like Crazy Taxi was, but this down here seems to indicate that you can drive over ingredients. So like, say you're delivering a hamburger, but you drive over a chunk of meat with a bone in it, and that will enhance it and give you more points for the delivery. And of course, it has other things that you can deliver, such as hot dogs with fried eggs on top, and ramen, and lobster, and pizza, and all that stuff, as the name of the game implies, Bike Dash Delivery. That's what you're doing. So here are a couple of photos of the game cabinet itself, and so this is what it's been done in what's called a twin configuration. And so this is where two player stations are essentially combined into one cabinet and sold as one cabinet, but it's like two games in one, or essentially, but two of the same games in one instead of two different ones. And Sega has done plenty of twin cabinets over the years. Namco has done plenty of twin cabinets over the years. One that comes to mind that was one of their first was Final Lap, which was also the first game that did first arcade game that did networked play together. But each person gets their own vertically oriented Tate style monitor. The instructions on the game, which seem to mimic those of the banner there, show up right there. But more interesting than any of that, of course, are the bicycle controllers, which have part of a real bike frame, it looks like. They even have a little bit of a tire mold in there. Obviously, it's not a real tire, it'd just be part of the overall shell molding, plastic or vinyl or something, maybe fiberglass. And then you have real bike pedals. Now, again, this is not the first game, not even by Namco, that has done this sort of thing before. Prop Cycle is one that possibly comes to mind for a lot of people out there. But also some have been pointing out it reminds them of this other Namco game, Downhill Bikers. But Downhill Bikers is one that I've never actually come across. I've come across Prop Cycle before, but not Downhill Bikers. Now, whether or not this networks another twin cabinet so you could have up to 4 players competing for deliveries, I don't know. But at least there's 2, and I would assume as well that there is some sort of competitive element to it. Also not sure if this bike seat is adjustable in this version. It looks like maybe it would be able to slide back somewhat, but I don't see anything that indicates that it might go up or down, or maybe this is like some sort of button that the person could push to raise it up or down before they hop on board. But that's all we know about this at the moment. And I did reach out to Bandai Namco Amusements America. No comment at this point. But one thing that's important to note is to whether or not this might come to the States. I would say there is a good chance. I mean, again, this depends on testing. But recently there was something like this that happened with Goldstorm Pirates, the sequel to Deadstorm Pirates, and I talked about that in another video, and I have posts on this on the blog as well. But that showed up on test in Japan first, and then a short time later it popped up here in the States on test. And so maybe this will do the same thing. I think this would be a fairly easy sell, not just to gamers, but maybe to operators. I mean, I find it intriguing. Of course, with operators, a lot of the time it depends on the price, what the price tag is, and something like this may be a little on the pricier side. But with as big as fitness has become out there within American culture, and I know other cultures around the world have also gotten really into fitness, I mean, this fits that bill of fitness and play, exergaming as it's often called, exercise gaming, as obviously the faster you pedal, the faster your bike goes in the game, and being timed and all that, you'll want to pedal fast sometimes. Also, the handlebars do have brakes on them, and it looks like these are connected there with realistic brake wires too, so if you need to suddenly stop so you don't crash into a car or something like that. But yeah, that's all we know about this one for now, and so hopefully we'll see more about it soon. Perhaps it'll be showing up on test here in the States, or if we don't see one on test, maybe it'll be at IAAPA. IAAPA is a giant trade show, kind of like E3 for the arcade industry, but it's actually happening. It hasn't been canceled permanently like E3 has, and so that'll be happening in November, still a few months away. But it'll be very interesting to see Bandai Namco's booth at IAAPA, just because the chances of us seeing maybe this, maybe Goldstorm Pirates, maybe Taiko no Tatsujin, are all pretty high, I would assume, but until we get confirmation, we don't know for sure. But let me know what you think about this one in the comments below, and if it's the sort of game that you would like to see at your local arcade or not, and we'll catch you on the next video.